Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So I've had a lot of questions about why I don't have signature series books. So I wanted to make a video and just kind of explain, my reasoning on why I don't have too many signature books. Actually, I don't have any signature books. And you know what? I think doing some of the research for this video and, looking on the census and kind of weighing the pros and cons of signature books, in a sense, I kind of feel like I'm probably pretty wrong to have gone down that route in a sense. So, I think there's good reasons for both sides of, why you could focus on signature books, signature series books, or you could just stick to Blue Label books like I do. We get right into it here. Just before we do that, I want to invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. And when you subscribe, the bell pops up. Hit the bell, and you'll get all our latest notifications. And add me on Instagram and Twitter, too. More active on Instagram these days. All the links are in the description below. But two main reasons I would say that I haven't kind of chose to not buy signature series books and just kind of went to just get the Blue Label books. Number one reason is, you can get pretty much the same book for less money. So in the CGC 9.8, signature series books sometimes are 50% or more money than the non-signature series book in the CGC 9.8. So, from that perspective, you can get the book that you want, the book that I'm nostalgic for as a kid, and, for less money than a signature series book. So, and especially now with, Stan Lee's signature series books have just skyrocketed since he had passed away. And, even in some auctions, Stan Lee signature series books are just really hot right now. But, yeah, basically, I think that's one of the main reasons for me of why I stuck to Blue Label over signature series books, is just that fact that you can get the book that you want for less price, basically. So, second reason is a bit of a personal, a kind of a personal reason, I would say. And for me, signature series books, in a sense, I make this analogy to kind of tinting windows on your car. Like if you buy a Maserati or something, or a Ferrari, to me, you shouldn't really get the windows tinted or, new crazy wheels or anything like that, because it's a Ferrari. It's just, that's how it was made to be. And in its original state, as it was in the sense of a comic, as it was on the first day it came out on the newsstand. So, in some sense, I kind of compare it to tinting windows on your car. Whereas for me, I just want to sort of relive that moment of on the first day going to the comic shop and getting the perfect comic. And that's why I really like CGC 9.8, because it essentially is as the comic came out on the day. It came out in a comic book shop and stuff like that. So, getting a signature on top of that is, I wouldn't really put it, right up there with tinting windows on your car and, putting a big spoiler on your car or something like that. Like, it's not that, severe. But in a sense, I think, most comics are signed by these two of my favorite Todd McFarlane books here, two of my favorite books ever, both signed by McFarlane on the cover. So it's like, do you need another signature? And so, yeah, those are my main two reasons. You know what? You can get the Blue Label book for a little bit less money. And, again, that's sort of, not being in its original state. And I really like it being in its original state is kind of the second reason. But, you know what, looking at the title of this video, doing a little bit more research, I kind of think I'm wrong, because I really love looking on the CGC census, and I like having limited number type books. And to be honest, if you really like limited numbers, the signature series books are pretty much the way to go. So, the more I think about it, and because I really like looking on the census, and I like having a book that's like 1 of 100, or 1 of 80, or 1 of 300, or whatever it might be, the signature series books are even more rare than that. So that's one of the things I really love about signature series books, is you're getting those limited numbers. Yeah, you're spending more for the most part, but you're getting those limited numbers. So a couple ways I kind of recommend to go about going about getting Signature Series books, personally, I would look for like opportunistic buys. So, if you're looking for CGC 9.8s and, every now and then a Signature Series book of a CGC 9.8 that you might want might pop up, or, whatever the grade is, in an auction, and, maybe you got a good feeling about it that it could go for a good price. So, you make up kind of a really competitive bid at a lower price and try to get a Signature Series book for almost the same as a Blue Label book. That would be one way that I kind of wish I went about that, because there has been a couple opportunities that I've sort of passed up. And I'll kind of let you know about those in a sec. But another way is, I totally recommend this way, is to, look for the books in really good shape raw, and then go to the cons. If you enjoy going to the cons, then go to the cons and get them signed. And then it's a fun thing. It's, although it costs money to go to the con and get the signature and everything, it's still an experience, and you have fun, and you'll probably meet some new people and buy some cool books at the con. And so that would be kind of the second way I would go about, looking to try to buy Signature Series books. And, talking about opportunistic buys for Signature Series books. I passed up a Batman 423, so Todd McFarlane Batman cover. I love Todd McFarlane. That's one of my favorite Batman issue. Batman 423. It was signed by Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane, Jim Starlin, and I think Aparo. I think Jim Aparo. I believe it. There might have been one or two other signatures. Fully signatures, CGC 9.8 white pages, and Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane's signature on it alone would make it really expensive. But I believe it was like $850 to $900. Buy it now from a really, really popular seller that I follow too, that I believe is selling his personal collection that he's amassed over time. I passed that up. It sold like 2 days later for $850, $900. But yeah, that Batman 423 is like a one-of-one book, essentially. Because there's only like 90 Batman 423s in the CGC 9.8. And then there's probably only 10 or 20 Signature Series Batman 423s, let alone signed by everyone involved with the book. So that's an opportunity I passed up. It's 6 in my mind, and that was like a year and a half ago. And I wish I just pounced on it and had bought it, because again, if you're really into limited numbers, I think Signature Series books are kind of the way to go. And even out of a newer book, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95 with the white cover, that's a good example of, there's 130 something, I believe, on the CGC census in the Blue Label, and in the Signature Series there's 8 of them. So, if you like limited numbers and you're willing to spend another 100, 150, you can get that, Ninja Turtles book. That would be kind of a newer one I'd recommend. But yeah, look for those opportunistic buys, go to cons and get them. Those would be kind of the 2 ways I would most recommend to try to buy Signature Series books. So, just kind of concluding up here, looking back on things, and, I've amassed a pretty good Blue Label CGC 9.8 collection. Do you think do I kind of regret not going after more Signature Series books? And I think in a sense I do, actually. The more I'm looking at the census and understanding how much more limited they are, I do kind of wish I had maybe like 3 or... I literally have 0. I have no Signature Series books, so... I kind of wish I did have maybe 4 or 5 Signature Series books. Certainly that Batman 423, pretty much a one-of-one that would have been, pretty much. So yeah, you know what, I do regret it a little bit. Still really happy with my collection. I don't really have any deep regrets or anything. But I think, moving forward, I'll probably, be on the lookout more for those opportunistic buys of, these are just good examples of issues where kind of my rule number 1 of why I don't buy Signature Series books is cost. So, like a Incredible Hulk 340, you can buy for about $350 to $400 in the CGC 9.8 for a nice copy, and in the Signature it's probably $650 to $700 with Todd McFarlane's signature. And this is Amazing Spider-Man 300 is already really expensive. I paid $1,980 for this one. And with McFarlane's signature and a new case and a really good looking copy, that's at least $500 more, usually $1,000 more, actually. So, yeah, not really that upset that I didn't go after a ton of Signature Series books or anything like that, because again, it's going to cost more, and I got a lot of books, a lot of Blue Label books for basically a less price. But I do wish I was more opportunistic and I had like 5 or 6 Signature Series books that were really kind of rare and, again, opportunistic. So you're just, looking on eBay, and if something pops up in an auction and you can get it for a decent price, then I think Signature Series books can be really, really good buys. So, yeah, a little bit of regrets about not going after tons of Signature Series books. And I think, if you were a person who's kind of the opposite of me and just went after all these Signature Series books, I think, that's kind of cool too. I mean, for me, it's not what I would do, but that is pretty cool. And it's interesting too to think what sells better. So when you're, on the way out, when you're going to sell them, what would sell better, Blue Label books or Signature Series books? That's kind of interesting. I've seen, some auctions of Signature Series books basically go for the price of like a Blue Label book, because I think, if you put up an auction, you never know if it's going to gain steam, and it could go for a lot less than what things are actually worth. So, yeah, to me, I think Blue Label books probably sell a little bit easier on the way out. For, if you're getting them for good prices, you could sell them on the way out for a pretty good price, at least what you bought them for, like very quick kind of thing. Whereas Signature Series books, sometimes you see those just hang around for quite a long time, because it takes like a serious, Signature Series type collector to go after those. But yeah, more limited on the census, so yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum, but I think if you were choosing to focus on Signature Series books, that would be kind of cool. And if it's your thing, it's your thing. If you like doing it, especially if you like going to cons and getting a lot of books signed, I think that's a really cool way to go about doing it. But yeah, if you just kind of are getting in the hobby or something and you think you might not be into Signature books, save a little money and just get the Blue Label books, which is kind of, my main reason for doing that, for going this route. Okay, that'll be it for this video, me ranting on. All right, if you haven't already, I'd invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. And add me on Instagram and Twitter. All the links are in the description below for all that. And yeah, thanks so much for watching today. And thanks for all the support, all the comments. Really like some of your questions I'm getting on Instagram as well. Just send me a message on Instagram if you ever have any questions or want to talk about an issue or whatever it might be. But that'll be it for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.